What's up YouTube, this is GalacticGod and welcome to another episode of Yugioh Chat. This is of course for Sunday, October 25th, 2015. Now actually this week's video is probably going to be very short as I don't have a lot of time to film, but I'm going to try and cover as much as I can for you in the short time that I have to film this. I'm going to go ahead and get things started this week with the Yu-Gi-Oh news. So a couple of big things happened, including the reveal of Astral Pack 8. Now like many Astral Pack sets, this one does not disappoint, although there is a couple of cards that I would have liked to have seen on there. I've already made a video earlier in the week kind of talking about the cards that I would have liked to have seen get reprinted in holographic form. If you guys would like, you could check out that video. But fortunately we're able to get ultimate versions of cards like MST, Fiendish Chain, and of course Trishula, which looks absolutely beautiful in Ultimate Rare. Not to mention that we've gotten erratas of cards like Black Horn of Heaven and Lose One Turn. Of course, a lot of people are disappointed with how Black Horn of Heaven has now been officially stated to work, how it does not hit every pendulum monster when your opponent pendulum summons. It just hits one monster that's doing an inherent special summon. But that doesn't necessarily make the card bad. Also, the errata for Lose One Turn is very helpful. I remember there being a huge controversy over just how this card functioned when it was first released here in the TCG. There was a lot of debate over whether it worked like the OCG or whether how it worked, how it was stated on the card. Thankfully, Konami did errata and fixed any kind of miscommunication they had when it was first translated over here. Plus, this actually means that we get a really quick reprint of Lose One Turn, which is a card that was pretty high. I mean, it was around the $25–$30 range, and with this we're going to be able to pick them up relatively pretty cheap. So overall, for the most part, I'm very happy with the Astral Pack 8 set, and I'm very happy with a lot of the reprints that we did get. The biggest news of the week, of course, comes back to Breakers of Shadow. This set just seems like Konami is pulling out all the stops to make it fantastic. Last week, not only did we learn about the new Solemn card that we were going to be getting in the set, but we also learned that Cyber Dragon Infinity was finally going to get released here in the TCG. Of course, this had a huge impact right away on the community as card prices for cards like Ptolemaeus and whatnot skyrocketed up in anticipation for the release of Infinity. Now Konami decided not to stop there one bit, as earlier in the week they announced that the Traptrix Rafflesia monster will be released over here as well. Now this was a card that many duelists believed we would not see for probably upwards of a year or so, just because it was an OCG exclusive at first. And this is going to be one that finds its way into a wide variety of rank 4 type of decks. One of the other really big announcements that Konami made this week was of course the Neptabyss, the Atlantean Prince, was finally going to be released in the Breakers of Shadow set. Not only is this probably one of the most anticipated cards to get released here in a long time, but it had a huge impact already, just like Cyber Dragon Infinity. We've seen the card prices of all the Atlantean and Mermail cards spike up extremely high. I've always been a big fan of Mermails. It's very combo centric, so being able to get the final piece of support that we were missing over here is something I'm very much anticipating. I don't know if it's going to have quite the impact that it did over in the OCG. Hopefully it will have some influence on the meta, maybe not break it or anything like that, but I'm definitely happy to get another card into that archetype that will hopefully propel it back to a tier 1 type of status, but I guess only time will tell. I also want to touch up on some of the things that have been happening over on my channel over this last week. First off, let me give a big thanks to everyone who took the time to watch my Yu-Gi-Oh! Top 5 hardest monsters to summon. For some reason, this video has done extremely well, and it seems to be one that a lot of people really enjoy. So with that said, I'm going to try and do top 5s a little bit more frequently on my channel. Also, I've got a really great guest upload coming for you guys tomorrow. I want you to make sure to check that out. I don't want to give too much of it away, but I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy it. And finally, I want to get on to this week's Q&A. And the first one comes from KDM, who asked, "Hey GalacticGod, how long does it typically take you to edit a video?" And the short answer is really a very long time. Now, I'm going to give you two different scenarios. Normally, most of my discussion videos end up after they're edited being about 3 to 6 minutes or so. Now with that said, I actually film usually about 10 to 15 minutes worth of content, and then during the whole editing process I kind of go through it, figure out what's working, what's not, when I kind of over reiterate a point that doesn't need to be made, or kind of go off on a tangent that has nothing to do with the video, and I kind of cut those little spurts out. I try and make my discussion videos as focused as possible so that there's a clear understanding of what I'm really trying to get across. And so I think the editing process is very important. not only for just getting the rough cut of the video, but actually adding in all the different kinds of effects. As anybody who watches my video knows, I usually have cutaways within them, and some of them even have other kinds of effects. So the process can be much longer than the typical video where someone just turns on the camera and then sits in front of it and talks for like 5 to 10 minutes, and then turns it off and uploads it. And that's why they normally take a little bit longer to produce. The next question comes from Azardeos, who asks, Bryonic, Dragon of the Ice Barriers, do you think it will be returned to us in the coming 6 months? And the easy answer to that is no. I cannot see that card being released back to us anytime soon. There's just a couple of archetypes that can seriously abuse that just a little too well. Burning Abyss is the first one that comes to mind. The discard aspect will just give that card too many kinds of pluses. Now, if Konami was to go back and errata Bryonic in some way, to where he wasn't as broken as he currently is, then I could see him being released in the next 6 months. But bar something like that from happening, I just don't believe he's going to come off of the forbidden list. The next question comes from Sideswipe3D Yusei, which is an awesome name, I add. And he asks, hey GalacticGod, have you ever considered opening your own Yu-Gi-Oh card shop down the road? Now there was a point, probably a couple years back, where a friend of mine and I really looked into opening our own card shop. We went to a few different banks, talked to them about getting loans, we scouted locations, we talked to different business owners in different complexes, and we even talked to a few other card shop owners that are somewhat out here in our area. Ultimately, we decided not to move forward with it. Now maybe one day down the road this kind of dream could happen, but as it stands right now, I just have no plans of opening my own kind of card shop. And the final question comes from Nesser, who asks, why did you stop opening cases or even single booster boxes? By the way, I'm a big fan. I guess the big reason is that it stopped being very profitable to do so. A lot of the last few cases that I did buy to open, I didn't really make a profit off of them. Plus, we were going into our senior year of college and we wanted to put a lot more attention in that, and because of that, we couldn't really focus so much on keeping up to date with our eBay account and checking every day, making sure we were up to date on card prices and that our cards were going for a reasonable rate within the community. But right now, I'm mostly buying product just for fun whenever I want, and that's why you don't see too many product openings on my channel any longer. And I guess that's gonna about do it for this edition of Yugioh Chat. Remember, if you guys have any questions that you wish me to answer, leave them down in the comment section below. They can of course be Yu-Gi-Oh or Yugitubing related, and they can even be non-Yu-Gi-Oh related anyway, so if you just want to know something basically about me, you can ask that as well. Anyhow, that's all the Yu-Gi-Oh I got for you this week. This is GalacticGod,